The landmark abortion decision is expected to open a new legal frontier over telemedicine's role in a fight that is far from settled. And the anticipated demand for abortion pills could also set the stage for new courtroom battles. Healthcare attorney Harry Nelson joins us now tonight to go over some of these questions. Thanks for being here. So more than half of all abortions in this country take place in privacy with medication, and that medication is often prescribed virtually. So how has telemedicine changed abortion in the United States, and what happens now?
Right. So it's a massive change, and most people are only learning of it really as a result of the Dobbs decision Friday. Really, according to the most recent study, which was in 2020, over 54% of abortions are happening through medication. That is through the medication mifepristone, and then a second pill taken a day or a day and a half later, misoprostol. And since 2021, doctors have been able to have the visit to prescribe the medications virtually across the internet. People can be on their computer or their smartphone, and the medications can be mailed. So since the FDA has allowed that, that is the fastest growing and predominant form of abortion occurring in the United States today.
So how does it work? Will doctors in other states be able to do telemedicine visits with patients and prescribe pills in states where it's not legal if the person came across state lines, for example, the patient, and got the pills?
So certainly, if you the states, the hostile states, the Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, those Republican-led states have all been passing laws to say that even though you can use telemedicine for other reasons, you can't use it for abortion. And traditionally, a doctor is not supposed to prescribe except for residents of a state in which the doctor is licensed. But the reality we have is that doctors in the permissive states can easily have these visits in private. We also have overseas doctors and organizations that are dispensing the medication even without a U.S. physician. So the reality is these hostile states have no way to stop doctors from having these private one-on-one encounters with patients, and no way to stop the medication from being mailed in. So even though the laws have gotten scarier, the ability of the state to actually stop women from having abortions through medication and through telehealth is almost impossible.
But those doctors, those providers would be putting themselves at risk by doing so, wouldn't they?
Right. So it is true that, but ordinarily there's sort of two risks for anybody who's violating a law related to medicine. A doctor who has a license can have that license disciplined or revoked, and then there's the risk of criminal charges. So certainly, I think a lot of doctors are going to sort of keep their heads down, and I think most of the work here is going to be done by advocacy organizations dispensing the medication. In fact, if you pay attention to what Attorney General Merrick Garland was saying on Friday, it's quite possible that we're going to see an elimination of the prescription requirement and this medication become an over-the-counter medication simply to keep doctors out of harm's way, because this medication has been, according to clinical research, determined to be very, very safe. As long as a woman understands at what point her pregnancy is and confirms it's less than 10 weeks, and there's no reason to think it's an ectopic pregnancy, the medication is safe to prescribe. And it may be that we'll see the prescription requirement eliminated so that doctors don't have to worry and patients can just have access to it directly through pharmacies.
Wow, it's something not a lot of people are talking about. Do you expect the commerce of these pills, if it's not, if they don't go over the counter, to continue underground? And what about the procedure?
Yeah, so absolutely. We have a lot of organizations overseas that are beyond the reach of criminal charges from, say, Texas or Mississippi. And those organizations are clearly committed to making the medications accessible. And so, if you think about it, we've been fighting a losing battle for over a decade, trying to stop opioids, fentanyl from being mailed into the country from China and other places. There's absolutely no way that these states are going to be able to do anything about medication being mailed from overseas, from out of the country, and frankly, even from in the country, from advocacy groups. So I personally think that it's critical that we make sure that women in hostile states know what resources are out there, but that it will be impossible for these states to actually stop access to these medications.
So these advocacy groups you talk about that are mailing in abortion pills from other countries, they face no legal consequences?
I mean, if you're not in the United States, you're not going to be subject to criminal charges. It's it's hard to imagine that, we're going to see extradition of people who are doing this activity are doing it from places where they're confident that they are beyond the reach of these states. And so, the irony is we've had medications coming into the United States for decades. Usually the government has looked the other way when the medications have been safe. We've had a few scares over the years where, the cancer drug Avastin was being sent in and was determined to be counterfeit. But the reality is there's really no way to reach people outside of the United States if they want to mail a medication into the United States.
And before I let you go, when you look at Justice Thomas's opinion, what stands out to you as a healthcare attorney?
Well, what's striking is that unlike the other 4 justices who signed on to the Justice Alito's opinion, Justice Thomas is very openly saying that he is prepared to roll back all of these other liberty-based decisions that have been expansions of our concept of liberty. So he is prepared to take on whether contraception is something that states are forced to allow access to. He is prepared to take on whether gay marriage should be permissible. And it's very clear that the other conservative justices are signaling that this is not a time where gay people in America need to be worried that their marriages are going to be invalidated. Justice Thomas seems to think that is fair game at this point. So anybody who cares about marriage equality should be grateful that he is not joined by his colleagues in that view.
All right, Harry Nelson, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.